Catherine, and I'm here with Ernest and Kat today from the Love and Forgiveness and Governance Project to discuss what their project's all about. So let's just start off if you could tell us a little about the Love and Forgiveness and Governance Project and what it's all about.
Sure. So the project is a joint collaboration between SCAR Beyond Attractability with funding by the Fetzer Institute. And the whole idea is to profile exemplars who have shown to utilize love and forgiveness in governance positions. We're keeping the definition of governance pretty broad at this point. It's anyone who has a role as a leader or has influence amongst their community, their nation, or on an international level as well.
Yeah, just to add to what Kat said, when you're talking about love and forgiveness and governance projects, when the project was conceived, the initial idea was to find solution to interoperability of conflict. That is conflict that goes over time. Then the main idea was that maybe through love and forgiveness, maybe such conflict can be resolved, and both parties we can find a way to see how the conflict maybe can be stopped and the long-term effect minimized.
Yeah. And just to add on to that too, the way that we're doing this is we designed a website that's on Beyond Attractability where the exemplars are profiled. We're starting to do some articles and some blog posts on it as well. And we also have social media channels, Twitter and Facebook and all of that, to reach out to people to try and get them to nominate exemplars that they may know who are doing love and forgiveness and governance.
Great, that sounds wonderful. So just if you don't mind my asking, what personally attracted each of you to this project?
Sure. So I actually worked at the UN Foundation for a couple of years, and we had our own website or collaborative platform, whatever you want to call it, for the mobile health community. And we did a lot through social media and calls for nominations and things of that nature. So it was really that communications component that attracted me to this program, particularly because it's in a content area that I'm a little bit more interested in, as opposed to public health, which was what my last project was on. So I think it's a really great idea, and it's also an idea that's very difficult to explain or show in a way that's tangible for people to want to also practice love and forgiveness in whatever position or capacity they're working in. So I think that that challenge is really interesting to me.
Talking about what attracted me into working on projects. Before now, I used to work with prisoners. And basically, when you talk about forgiveness, first some people think first about maybe Christians or maybe religious people feel that it's only religious people that can forgive. Yeah, but having worked in prison for a very long time, so I believe that some of the experience maybe I had in prison has a relationship with forgiveness and love. And because when some people go to jail and when they come out, maybe one thing, some of them maybe when they are in jail, some of them they become a new leaf, they are trying to change maybe from the type of life they lived in the past. And in doing that, they tend to kind of look back to some of those offenses that take them to the prison. Though some of them maybe reconcile, maybe with whom they offend, and some of them also promise maybe to be a very good citizen. So in that sense, I saw maybe what the project tries to address maybe has a relationship with what I did before in the past. So I felt that it would be very good for me to explore the area and actually see what the project is about to accomplish in the future.
Wonderful, thank you. So what have you done so far on the project?
Okay, we've done a lot of things, and just to let you know that we just had maybe just a section, which is like the first semester last year. That is basically because the project was funded September last year, and early September, Kat and myself started putting things together for the project. First, we started by looking at a kind of a holistic section, which is the first semester. First apart from the project plan, which we put together in a detailed form, we also kind of develop some documents because basically this is research, and both of us we are meant to kind of to document cases of examples. So and again, not to make the project to be legitimate, so we get to make sure that what we do is in line with the social science research. So we started with the IRB application, basically just getting green light to be able to interview people on the project. And CAT had a lead on that, and we were able to get that approved. So we also maybe got some training on the use of Zotero, because then we were just new, and maybe the use of Zotero. So we also tried to maybe build our capacity to use maybe citation resources, so that we don't end up fall on the line maybe by not referencing properly and all that. So basically, these are like some foundation activities which enable us to start on the story that maybe Kat can jump in.
Yeah, sure. So some of the tangible outcomes that we've had is the startup of the website itself. So as I said before, it's hosted on Beyond Intractability, and you can go and visit it. I'm sure we'll provide the link to those who are viewing. But it has a couple articles from our preliminary research on what the definition of love and forgiveness in governance is. And of course, that's really broad and very hard to define, but we did our best to try and give some parameters to the project. And then we also entered into starting to profile some examples of exemplars in love and forgiveness. Because what we did was we put out a call for nominations, and we wanted the public to kind of get an idea of what type of profiles we were looking to do. And that's another thing that we did. We put out the call for nominations in December, and we got a pretty good amount of nominations back, and we'll be profiling those people on our website coming up. And then on top of that, we also started our social media campaign. So we started doing our Twitter handle as well as our Facebook page. We range from profiling or showing the profiles we've recently put up to also doing some inspirational quotes and articles that detail what forgiveness and love is, and just trying to get a whole bunch of stuff up there and kind of get people interested in the topic area.
Great.
Okay, just to add to what Kat said, because at the beginning of this section, what we're trying to do, because based on the plan we developed, we had this monitoring and evaluation. We have an ongoing monitoring of the project, and we just completed a progress report on the project, just to highlight some of the key achievements we have made, and also looking at maybe what we are doing this session, and also what we are doing after that. And we discovered that we did a lot during the last phase, and just as Kat said, apart from the profiles, because we have a target of how many profiles maybe we can put together maybe within a section. But it's unfortunate that we're only able to do about 10% of what we have maybe of our targets. Yeah, but that does not mean that we've not achieved much. But these are basically like samples of those profiles, and most of the activities, because basically last semester we tried to have like a foundation activities, just to enable the project maybe to stand on a very solid foundation, and basically that's what we tried to achieve last session. Then this session we are starting with some key profiles and making sure that we put some of the solid or the body of the project on the table.
Well, I think Ernest hits on a good point there for the project, is that we have found that there's a lot of nominations out there. There's a lot of people to profile, and the goal of the project is to really be community owned. So this semester we're really focusing on getting people interested in writing their own profiles on people that they think exemplify love and forgiveness. We also started a guest blogging program, so anyone wants to come on and write an article about what they think about love and forgiveness, and what its role could be in governance. We're definitely looking for other voices besides our own. That way we can get more viewpoints on this topic heard out there. I think it would be really interesting. And there's information about that on the website as well.
Thank you. So you've mentioned exemplars a few times now. Do you have examples of people who you profiled as exemplars? Or?
Yeah. around a dozen right now, and the ones that we've done have been pretty high-profile names, such as Nelson Mandela. We have a profile of John Lewis that's about to go up. So they're names that you probably pretty well know, but that's also why we did the nomination process, is so that we get a few more names from the community and local level, because I think that it's interesting to start seeing what the parallels are between those who are more at the community level as well as those who are more on the international level that we all know and respect and so forth. And the idea is to kind of take how they've done it and make it really tangible so that people who are in governance right now can take some of those lessons or some of those trials and tribulations by those exemplars and apply it to their own work.
Yeah, talking about the exemplars, we categorize the exemplars into two. First, we have the individual exemplars and also have collective exemplars. Then Kat just mentioned some of the individual exemplars like Nelson Mandela, Suki, the pastor and the imam, and even of recent, we just put together some like Lewis, and also Desmond Tutu. But okay, maybe let me just tell you some of our findings about some of these exemplars, because their stories is very much interesting and stimulating. Let me talk about the pastor and the imam. It's an exemplar from Nigeria. Pastor James William used to be a leader of a Christian militia group, where he's a religious pastor. Then we also have Imam Mustafa Ashafa. He used to be a leader of a Muslim militia. These two people were previous enemies, and they fought each other for several years in Nigeria. A lot of people were killed. But a remarkable maybe outcome between these two people is that the pastor, during those fighting, lost one of his arms, and the Imam Ashafa lost the spiritual father, maybe somebody that maybe the teacher in Islam also. So these two people suffered, losses which ordinarily they wouldn't have been friends. They don't want to see eye to eye. But as fate will have it, both of them came together. They now set up what is called Interfaith Mediation Center in Kaduna, and they are reaching out to other Christian and Muslims, maybe fighters in Nigeria, to be able to come together as one and become friends. So these are interesting outcomes from some of the profiles.
So is that a collective exemplar? You said there's individual exemplars.
Okay, well, maybe they can fall into both because both of them work
Align it
together.
to the
Yes,
okay.
they work together. They're known as pastor and imam. Yeah, but talking about collective exemplars, basically, maybe haven't gone over the exemplars over time. When I discovered that most of the experience we've been highlighting were all individual efforts. But again, out there are organizations, that are doing good job, like Family Talk International. This is an organization in Sierra Leone that is a kind of reconciling the communities and even individuals that committed grievous offenses during the Sierra Leone crisis. So Family Talk basically is being described as a local organization that have succeeded where the international community failed. So basically, this is a collective effort because they are organizations, not individual.
Okay. So are you accepting nominations for individual and collective?
Yeah.
Okay.
Originally, we were solely just doing individuals, but collective cases have been coming up, and we want to recognize those as well. So at this point, we're doing both.
Wonderful. So what are some of the contributions of this project to the field of conflict resolution?
Sure. So what I think is that the topic of love and forgiveness is not always looked at as a legitimate way to practice diplomacy or to deal with reconciliation or to help a society progress through whatever they've been through. And I think what this project is trying to do is to get that mindset changed and say that love and forgiveness are actually really, really powerful. And they're powerful because of these exemplars and these stories. So we have some type of proof that it works. But at the same time, a lot of people don't really know the role that it's had, or they don't give a lot of credence to it. So what we're trying to do, especially as researchers, is to give it a little bit more weight in the field of conflict resolution and say, hey, actually, this could be really transformative, and this is something that we really should start paying attention to. And we've seen, honestly, so far that people are much more open to it than we think probably they have been in the past. And I think that that's a trend that we really want to go after and keep pushing the envelope on. So that's kind of my take on it. Do you have something to add, Ernest?
Yeah. Maybe since you even an overview, I'll be specific. Maybe with the examples. Okay, first, by profiling exemplars and by maybe by people learning from the work of exemplars. For example, it's Mandela. So we know that maybe from what happened in South Africa, if not because of Mandela as an exemplar and because of maybe his forgiving spirit, there would have been a cycle of violence in South Africa. But because he took a different turn or a different approach maybe to solving the situation, and that is why you can see peace in South Africa today. So this is the work of just one exemplar. And that's the type of work we want to kind of to project so that people can learn from what happened in South Africa and be able to change. Then secondly again, if you look at the ongoing debate now on what role forgiveness can play in criminal justice, because so it's an interesting debate, and we are following up and seeing where this debate will go. Because the issue is that in criminal justice, people that commit maybe capital offense like murder, even when they come to confess, of course, maybe the law doesn't recognize that, and maybe they end up killing the person. Because once you kill somebody, what the law says is that you need to also, maybe face whatever you do. So basically, what you're looking at is, if somebody commit a capital offense and you now come out to apologize that I did this, because so that the law can have maybe a softer penalty for such cases. And basically, that is where the debate is going now, and we are following up to see where it's going to go. And again, maybe lastly, if you look at, because through our research, we discovered that out of the top 10 political prisoners in the whole world, half of them are all exemplars of love and forgiveness. Talking about maybe Nelson Mandela, Sasuki, and a lot more. So basically, we are now seeing maybe a change, whereby those that even goes to prison, when they come out, they become better citizens. So basically, what we intend to achieve by that is that we want to project, what these people stand for and the type of what they did during their lifetime, and basically, because some of them maybe went to prison, but that didn't make them, to go against people that put them in such difficult situation. So basically, just as Kat said, transformative, seeing maybe how we can be able to change the way we think or the way we do things by learning from exemplars of love and forgiveness.
Yeah, it seems that there's a real internal transformation that a lot of the exemplars go through, and because of that, there's also an external transformation, whether it be within their local community, within their nation, or even at the international level. So it's a really interesting thing to look at and see what impact these types of topics can really have in the world.
That sounds really powerful. So what are some of the challenges and lessons so far that you've learned from this project?
Sure. I think, well, first of all, defining love and forgiveness, and even the word governance is challenging in itself. And I think we've tried to take a very broad view approach towards it so far.
Do you have a broad definition of love and forgiveness that you've been using?
We have an article on our website that you can read through that kind of shows the parameters of our research. But we have been trying to keep it broad simply for the fact of not wanting to exclude any possible story that can really help further define it, actually.
Okay.
And that was the goal of last semester. I think this semester we are trying to define it a little bit more, and that's a challenge in itself.
How have you been defining, what are some of the parameters that you've been using?
I mean, a lot of it is how other people have been defining it. And also there's a huge debate between governance and governing, or governance and government. And that's actually an internal debate we have in the office quite often. Because some people view governance as solely just the government, or a regional state or international body that conducts rules and laws and so forth. But the way that we've kind of been approaching it is that governance can range in any capacity as long as it's an individual or a collective case, an organization, that's really having influence amongst a section or group of people, and really pushing these ideas of love and forgiveness and exemplifying them, embodying them, and showing that they really can be transformative. So it's a challenging thing to communicate, and I think one of the other things that we've been faced with is really defining an incentive structure. It's definitely an interesting area of research, but getting people to nominate, getting people really engaged in these debates outside of our office walls, and really getting people to see that this is an area of research that's really powerful and really worth paying attention to, has definitely been challenging. And we're definitely trying to think of ways, whether it be through events or further nomination processes or our social media channels, getting a guest blogging program going, things of that nature, to get more and more people interested in talking about this.
This person from where I can't stop. I approached somebody and I asked the person if the person would like to nominate somebody as an exemplar. And the person asked me a question, and the question is, how do you measure love or forgiveness? So one of the basic challenges is
how do you do it?
Is that the concept we are dealing with is an abstract concept that is difficult to measure. But at the same time, the results of those that have lived a life can be seen. So maybe we can take it from that angle. Yeah, but okay. Just apart from that, apart from the challenge of measuring love and forgiveness, another challenge is the sustainability of the project itself. Because right now the project has been funded for 1 year through FESA. Yeah, but as I said before, there is a lot that can be done with the project, and the project is just gathering momentum. And by the end of this academic section, the funding will be over. So the challenge is, where can we get a matching grant to control the funding by the end of this semester? So that's a challenge which we'll be talking and we'll be discussing and trying to engage others in the debate to see how to move the project beyond the initial 1 year funding phase. Though we are on our own, we are coming up with some strategies to be able to keep the projects going, even when the funding stops, even if we can't get a matching grant, maybe to supplement what we have on the ground. So we are looking at maybe having some volunteers, those people are expressing interest, maybe an interns, maybe non-paid or half-paid interns, paid interns. Basically, that is some of the ideas we are trying, and basically also see how we can link the activity to other centers within ESCA to see maybe some collaboration or some partnership which we can have with those centers to keep the project going.
Yeah, sustainability is always an issue, particularly when you're dealing with a very abstract concept, as Ernest was saying. And how do you measure it? I mean, that's definitely been a question that has been brought up in our office numerous times. But it's also interesting. I mean, would you rather work in something that's easy or challenging, you know? So.
Great. So what are some of the next steps that we can expect to see from this project?
Sure. So what we're really trying to work on now is getting that community engagement. So really getting people to follow us on Facebook and Twitter. And also we do phases for the call for nominations. So we're in our second phase now, and you can find information about it on the website. But it's to get people really interested in saying, actually, I do know someone, at my community level or someone in my own government in my country that really exemplifies these things. And the other thing that we're working on is coming up with more blog posts that start to really dig deep into some of these issues, like the role of apology. How does that play into the themes of love and forgiveness, or justice, and what does that have to do with it? And getting those ideas out there, because there's a lot of debate. There's definitely a lot of debate, and it's an interesting area of research. And we're also starting a guest blogging program, which I mentioned before. So getting other people to commit to writing their ideas down and adding to the conversation is really important and valuable for us. And then obviously working on our sustainability, the incentive structure, things of that nature. And then last but not least, we're working on having a few events, which you can probably talk about since you've been coordinating them.
I'm talking about next step for the project. Next month we can have a sample talk screening, just to create awareness on the project, because we discovered that the project, not more, maybe some of us in ESCA, some of them are not even aware of the project. Maybe that's why this podcast is good, because once it's up, people can start maybe hearing about the project. So thanks to have that. And again, we also intend to have other activities, but basically we are still putting those those plans in place. Maybe after the last progress report on the project, we identify some key areas which we need to concentrate this semester and also beyond. And we're also trying to see if we can have a very good strategy to move the project beyond the first year funding phase to see that the project can take a life of its own after the first funding year.
Yeah, and that's why that community engagement piece is so important. And of course, the other activities continue as always, which is us profiling those exemplars that have been nominated through the process, as well as the ones that we come across in our own research. So that's an ongoing effort. But there's a lot of work to be done, that's for sure.
Yeah. All right, well, thank you for joining us today, Kat and Ernest. It was really great hearing about your project, and we